It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Sorry for the late show today. We had Ryan Silverfield's press conference on Monday at 12:15, so it kind of moved everything back a little bit. And that's how it'll be Mondays from now on, at least through spring football. It'll be a little bit later in the day. And then, of course, Thursday show will still be at noon. So a lot going on. Big weekend for Arkansas. Big win over Vanderbilt in the SEC Tournament, 86-75. I thought the difference in that game was, you can look at all the numbers and all this stuff, but Arkansas shooting was obviously, they shot over 50% from the floor, incredible from three-point range, but really the last 3 minutes and 13 seconds, Arkansas just completely dominated and took over the game, which we've seen happen plenty this season, and hope that continues as they try to make a run in the NCAA Tournament. We'll be joined with Connor Goodson. He's going to talk to us a little bit more about what to expect coming up, talk about the SEC championship game and some of the things that happened there. And we'll be joined with Kevin Bohannon because baseball team won 2-1 against Mississippi State over the weekends, 2-1. So they took the series against Mississippi State. They got a big one coming up. They got midweek, but they've got a big one coming up at South Carolina also. And spring football finally got started under Ryan Silverfield. We had the first practice. We'll talk about some of my impressions, play a little bit of video and stuff, let you guys get a look, and talk about some of the things that we saw, and also had Silverfield press conference today, and we'll talk a little bit about what we learned out of that as well. All that and more on today's episode of Hawg Sports Live. I sound like I was rambling because I felt like I was rambling.
You've done it. Now you're.
See, that was early. There was a lot to get to. The Crain team, the Crain Automotive Team, has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a vehicle, the Crain Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back on the road. Check them out at crainteam.com. Hawg Sports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team.
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
It is about the name on the back of the jersey. Yes, we're doing it for Arkansas. I'm so proud of DJ Wagner. I am so happy for Nick and what he did, because Malik did not play well in the last 5 minutes. The reason we won was Malik Ewan. And then you had Malik Thomas. I went down on the bench because I wasn't going to put him back in, not because of him, because of what was happening on the court. And I walked down and I said, listen, I'm going to stick with this group. So, and he looks at me and says, I'm good. I'm great. And I hugged him, and then I gave him a kiss on the cheek. He was like, what the hell? You look at how much Darius has grown, not only as a basketball player, as a leader. It's incredible. That's what we should be in the business for. You want to win, but it's the name on the back that I'm in the business for. I kind of been that way and done all right at every school I've been at. So you could say it's wrong, or you can live with it. You could be peed off or peed on. I really don't care.
Okay, Cal. Interesting words from John Calipari, but he's not wrong. If you play for the name on the back of your jersey, you also play for everybody else. Things tend to work out. If you respect the name on the back of the jersey, you want people to think well of it. I think that affects how you play everything. But it's also been important for John Calipari and his philosophy to get players, as he said many times. He would rather have talent than experience. He's absolutely right about that. We're going to bring Connor Goodson on. Connor was in Nashville, and get his perspective on what developed with Arkansas in their SEC Tournament championship run. Connor is going to join us here on the Ozarks Go hotline. Connor, if you're looking for fast, reliable, consistent, steady internet service that, at least in my experience, you don't ever have to unplug your router and plug it back in again because it just works. I've never had to do that in almost 5 years of having this service. Then check out our friends at Ozarks Go. ozarksgo.net/hog to find out if they're available in your area, or go to 479-684-4900 where you talk to somebody local, because it is a local company. They're not going to jack your rates up year 1 to year 2. Great service with our friends over at Ozarks Go. Good to have you back in Arkansas, Connor.
Hold on, Trey. I gotta do something real quick.
Okay. That's right. Thank you, Mr. John. For those who can't see, Connor just took down some Tyson nuggets real quick. Which I always say with people, like, if you can't support NIL, or you don't feel right about supporting NIL or donating and stuff, support the companies that do.
Yeah, I took a bigger bite than I expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I needed some sauce on those nuggets.
We're getting gimmicky on the show now. So, Connor, you were in Nashville. What did you think about the experience there, being there for all 3 games, and just one game after another, AAU tournament, as John Calipari calls it? What did you think of everything, and especially that championship game? You need a minute. You need a minute. Chew your food. Hold on. Chew your food. Just a couple of the numbers that stood out to me.
I'm good now.
You've got, well, aside from like the shooting percentage, like Arkansas didn't they didn't win, several different categories. They weren't better in the paint. They out-rebounded, but they didn't win, offensive rebounds. Vanderbilt was 15 of 15 from the stripe. Arkansas was just 11 of 15. But the things that stood out to me, the reasons Arkansas won the game, again, 51.7% from the floor, 62.5, made 15 threes on 24 attempts, 62.5 from three-point range, and dominated the final 3 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah, that was really the story, that final 3-minute stretch. I thought Arkansas going into that one of the final media timeouts, Vanderbilt was on a 6-0 run. They were up by 6, and then you'd kind of seen this before in different games where Arkansas, they would kind of go on a run, or they'd let the opponent kind of go on a run, and they just looked like they were lost. And Calipari would call a timeout. Sometimes they'd let go of the rope coming out of that timeout, and other times that they would really lock in and completely change the complexion of the game. I thought that really going into that timeout, I didn't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect sometimes with this team. They come out, Trevin Brazile, man, props to him. He played out of his mind during this final stretch. Yep. A 12-0 run from that point on, a 14-2 run to close out the game overall. And it was just incredible to see just the environment in Bridgestone Arena really shift. Trevin Brazile knocks down that huge three. Goes down, gets
Calipari's reaction was priceless,
insane. And then he goes down, he gets the rejection on Jalen Washington, and that crowd pop being there in Nashville when he swatted that shot was incredible, just loud. My ears are ringing, and then you could kind of feel at that point. I believe it was Malik Ewan who got that layup to make it a 10-point game. At that point, the celebration really started, and you could feel it kind of start to sink in for the guys that they'd finally done it. And yeah, the post-game celebration was incredible. I think of guys who have been here. Ronnie Brewer is a guy that, talked to in passing about it means more to him than some other guys that have been here in Arkansas. He's played in that jersey. His dad was a legend here. He follows that up. He never won an SEC championship as a player, and now he's on this staff. I just thought of that and thought that was cool. And just seeing the players' reactions, man, it meant a lot to them. But there's still that kind of underlying focus of like, okay, this is great, but we still have a bigger goal ahead of us.
Darius Acuff, 30 points, 11 assists. We're almost just getting used to it. He's been so good. 91 points in 3 games for Darius Acuff. Trevin Brazile, as you mentioned. Trevin went, did he go 4 or 5? Yeah, 4 or 5 from three-point range, 16 points, 9 boards. Nick Pringle didn't score, but he had a presence in the game. He did some good things. Billy Richmond, of course, with 18, just his energy. Billy was just, in the previous game, it just seemed like he was a dunk waiting to happen. Malik Ewan even had his moment. He only had 4 points, but he had his moments. And then, of course, DJ Wagner. I mean, you can say something good about I mean, it was a real team win. Even though you had one guy with 30 points, it was a real team effort to get that job done. And what I think is special about what this team did, and it's nice to have, some hardware in the trophy case again for this basketball team to really remember what this team is, despite what happens in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you can't have a great season without making a little bit of noise also in the tournament. But to have some hardware, when I think back, I remember that 2000 team. I was on campus then. Joe Johnson was a freshman, Brandon Dean, some of those guys. They had to win. They had to win that tournament or they weren't going to the NCAA tournament. They had that motivation. This team didn't have to win. Hell, it didn't even help their seed, really. I mean, if they'd have lost that game, I think they still would have been a 4 seed.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think about, Connor, because I've seen teams move up dramatically by winning the SEC in the past from where they were projected. Arkansas goes in, people are saying 4 seed, 5 seed, somewhere, one of those two, and then they win it and they're probably a 4.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't help themselves at all from a seeding standpoint. I thought they should be in the discussion to be a 3 seed, to be honest, despite what the metrics say. Damn the metrics. They won 10 of their last 12 games and only lost on the road to number 1 Florida and lost a double overtime against Alabama with 6 players.
Yeah. And if you go back to that Tuscaloosa game, there's a really nice breakdown that I shared on Twitter by one of the bracketologists, Bowertology. And it kind of it reverse engineers using the NCAA seed list, kind of how they went about, seeding these teams and putting them in the locations that they did. If you flip that result from Tuscaloosa, that double overtime loss, if you flip that and keep everything else the same, Arkansas is going to Tampa instead of Portland. And if they lose yesterday, they're probably in that 5 seed spot to Oklahoma City where Vanderbilt is right now. So, you definitely really hurt yourself. But like you said, though,
I would rather be the 5 seed where Vanderbilt is, Connor.
Yeah.
And going to Oklahoma City versus 2,000 miles away. No other SEC out of the 10s that got the bid, no other SEC team aside from Texas is going farther, and Texas is likely to even be in the thing. And if you win that, then you're off to San Jose. I mean, we're looking at plane tickets, Connor. It's at least $1,000 from anywhere in this region. If you want to fly out of Dallas, if you want to fly out of Tulsa, Little Rock, Fayetteville, it's going to be $1,000 to go to Portland for anybody covering the team, any fan that wants to go. And then it's going to be the same way for San Jose.
Yeah. And I put this in the thread, the Selection Sunday thread that we had, selfishly for me, someone covering the team, it's expensive. You don't want to shell out that. But for the fans, man, there's not going to be near the atmosphere that you had at Nashville where there's just a ton of people being able to make it out. I mean, I'm sure we have a lot of loyal listeners and people on the board that are also in that Pacific Northwest region. But there's not going to be an atmosphere like you've had in past NCAA tournaments that have been closer to Arkansas, and I think of the fans as well when I'm upset with Portland draw, because they're just not going to be able to shell out that money and make the trek. So it definitely sucks. Now, from a basketball standpoint, though, I do think that this region, this area, really works out great for Arkansas, aside from the Arizona draw. But I do think getting to the second weekend shapes up nicely.
Yeah, I think so too. And probably Wisconsin, although every team in this tournament is good. Every team in this tournament is capable of doing something and making a run. What have you learned about Hawaii so far?
I've learned that they are, really kind of the opposite of what you see with teams that make deep runs in March, teams that mid-major teams, I should say, that usually make runs are really good shooting teams that have really, really efficient offenses. Hawaii kind of does that opposite. They're 211th in KenPom's defensive or offensive efficiency. Defense is 43rd. So they kind of really make their bread and butter on defense. And I think that their offense, they have 3 guys that score over 10 points a game. They have some size inside, and they really pride themselves on getting it inside for easy buckets or getting to the free throw line, where they're 29th in the country in free throw rate. So they're going to try to slow it down and get it inside to some of their big men and let them go to work. So you need Arkansas to really kind of lean on Trevin Brazile, Malik Ewan, and you need more from Nick Pringle like you had on Sunday. Like you said, he didn't score, but he really, really impacted the game defensively and on the glass, and it was one of his better performances as a Razorback. You're going to need that again because Hawaii does have size, but I think that their defense, while they put up some decent numbers, I think that Arkansas's guard play should not be, they shouldn't be too affected by Hawaii's defense. And I think you could expect some big games from Thomas and Acuff.
Banged my knee on the desk a second ago. Oh my God. It hurts. I had to get up and walk it off. Oh. I'm better now. I was driving the other day and radio came on and people were talking about how many brackets you turn on. I think it was our buddy Ty Richardson. And the discussion was like, you're a man, and if you fill out one, and you're not if you fill out multiple. Let me tell you something. I'm trying to get some money. Yeah. I'm trying to win a prize. Yeah. I'm going to fill out as many brackets as I want to fill out. I'm going to fill out a neighborhood bracket. I'm going to fill out a big money bracket. I'm going to fill out a CBS bracket, an ESPN bracket, and I will have the first bracket. Now, this is kind of crazy, Connor. Mm-hmm. I have not filled out a bracket yet. And it's because we had spring football. We had so much stuff going on, and I just hadn't had a time to sit down and really do it. But the first bracket that I fill out is always my bracket. Mm-hmm. I always claim that. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, my brackets, I've got this guy, whatever left on the fourth bracket that I fill out. I have one bracket that I say is my bracket, and a kind of a strategy I will use. I'll fill out brackets like this. I will almost copy an expert's bracket almost to the word and and send one of those in. I will just pick them on record. Yeah. That's another strategy. I'll just until I get to like the final four, I'll pick just records. And I'll do my own bracket. That's my gut. But what I always like to do with all my brackets is pick one winner. And so I have different scenarios. So if that team does win, then I've got several different scenarios that I could possibly cash in on by doing that.
I like that.
My question to you, Connor, is I'm giving away trade secrets here. I have won numerous brackets, but I also fill out a lot. My question to you is, who do you think is going to win it all? Do you have a Final Four?
I have not filled out a bracket either. I did not get in until 4:30 last night, thanks to all the storms up there. But I have, coming into this tournament, I really liked Arizona, and I thought they weren't getting talked about a lot, and that sucks because it's Arkansas's draw, and they're the one seed in that region. But I really do like Arizona. Koa Pete's great. Jaden Bradley, phenomenal. Braden Burries is also another guy that I would have loved to seen in an Arkansas jersey. I think Arizona is really, really good. I also kind of like Houston. I've always really liked Houston. I feel like you can't count Kelvin Sampson. Yeah, and their defense this time of year.
We're thinking a lot alike though, Connor, because I want to pick Houston to win it. I like Arizona also. Unfortunately, they go through Arkansas to get there, but I liked Arizona going into this, and I like Duke too. I mean, Boozer's such a stud. Yeah. I mean, he's just good. But Florida's Florida's where they are for a reason. SEC was a very tough conference, and they dominated. They didn't finish probably the way they wanted to, but
I will say if you're torn between Houston and Arizona, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, and Arizona's already beaten Houston twice. So there's some bracket knowledge for all you folks out there.
I just feel like Sampson, he's getting up there. Yeah. How old is Kelvin Sampson? He's
I think he's older than Cal.
Yeah, Cal's 67.
Is Sampson 70 yet?
I think so.
If you'd asked me, If you'd asked me this earlier in the year,
Kelvin Sampson is 70, dead on.
Yep. So okay.
Yeah, so he's got time. He's got years left in him, but he's been knocking at the door. I always say, like, you keep knocking at the door, eventually you're going to knock it down. Yeah. Same could be said for Arkansas baseball, but with Sampson, I just part of me thinks the guy deserves it. He keeps winning and winning. He's got a little bit of a tainted past from his time at Oklahoma, but overall the guy just keeps winning. So part of me is kind of like maybe I'll pick Houston this year to win it all. We don't do the player draft anymore, but we used to always do a player draft. You ever do those?
I don't think I have.
So the player draft system is you basically, you get a group of guys, say 10 or girls, whatever, 10, 12 guys, and you go around and you draw numbers. So you get first pick, and then it snakes back and forth. So then you get first pick, and then, you get the last pick, and then the first pick of the third round, so on and so forth. But you draft a team, and you're just picking 5 players from anywhere, and, you accumulate points based on that. And we used to do that all the time, but we quit doing it because I broke the system. I started drafting players off of one team and figured out a formula that I basically needed to get to the Elite 8 with that team. And if I got to the Elite 8 with that team, then I was going to win.
Yeah.
Because, people are going to have teams that, you draft a player off this team, that team, all those players have to advance. So I broke the system, and everybody got frustrated with it and quit playing. That's
smart. That makes a lot of sense. That's are you thinking about doing one this year or
no? I haven't thought about doing it. There's just too much going on. I can't organize it myself. I can show up if somebody wants to do it, but my OCD pays off in things like this with strategy. So, what do you think about the Hogs? Do you like the Hogs' chances? Hawaii, Wisconsin, or High Point, which Cal even was talking about High Point yesterday.
Yeah, I mean High Point reminds me a lot of some teams that Arkansas played earlier this season that kind of gave them some fits. Winthrop comes to mind. Samford also a little bit. And listen, they're 30-4, winning 30 games in a season, regardless of what conference you're in or anything. Like winning 30 games is really impressive. So I think that they could give Wisconsin some trouble, and it wouldn't totally shock me if Arkansas gets past Hawaii and High Point's the one waiting for them there. But Wisconsin's really, really good. Their guard Nick Boyd is the guy who kind of stirs the drink for them. But if you get Acuff playing like he did, and you get Trevin Brazil to even loosely resemble what he did towards the end of that Vanderbilt game, and this Arkansas team, the sky's the limit. You go back to the preseason, whenever we were talking about this team, and I was like, man, they could really do something special. What we saw yesterday was what I had in mind and what I had envisioned this team looking like for long stretches and specifically in March where we are now. So I think when you got them playing like that, there's not a lot of teams that can really, really give them fits. And I really like Arkansas's chances to get to the second weekend.
Yeah. I think they've got a good shot. I mean, Darius Acuff, especially, closing out games, they can get hot. They can get, as long as they can get good play down low, which I feel like they can get. Then, another thing I like about this, when they lost to, who was their last loss, Connor? It
was Florida.
Florida, right. When they lost to Florida, I was just thinking, oh man, this team's going to have double-digit losses because, they're going to lose in the SEC tournament and they're going to lose in the NCAA tournament. But now
they've clinched single-digit losses.
Yeah, they'll have. I always think that stands out. And like I always say, you have a great regular season, which they had, and make some noise. You cannot win 30 games, in a regular season and conference tournament, and then get bounced in the first round and call it a great season.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to make you have to at least, make it to the Sweet 16 for us to say, that was a season. That was a great season. Even though they won the SEC tournament. You believe that?
Yeah.
You think that way?
I agree to an extent. Like if they go out and lose to Hawaii,
it tarnishes
it's going to be very, very disappointing. But
it's unfortunate that one game can tarnish it like that, but it can.
Yeah. And it's not going to completely undo what they did. Winning the SEC championship, especially Arkansas's first in 26 years, I think that's going to carry some weight regardless of what happens in the tournament. Now, if they get bounced in the second round, I think that it would alleviate it a little bit, compared to getting bounced in the first round. But I do think, like you said earlier, having some hardwood for this team, man, and having that SEC championship, it's going to help looking back 20 years from now on this really, really fondly. And it really helps Darius Acuff's legacy too. Like, and as being one of the all-time greats in this program. But I do think that if you can get to that second weekend, make some noise that way, I think that this is really one of the premier seasons in this program's history. Just having that SEC championship with it, you make it to the second weekend again. It'd be disappointing for them to not go further than Sweet 16, but I do think that would be a successful season.
Yeah.
Just
well, I've always said Joe Johnson is the most talented player to ever come through here, and I've said that for a while, but lately I've just kind of been like, I think it might be Darius Acuff. All right, Connor, we got to go to Kevin Bohannon now. He's got to get out of here, so he's got to get in and out. But I appreciate you and your insight, and we look forward to more.
All right, thanks, Trey.
All right, everybody, that's Connor Goodson. Follow him at Connor Goodson on X. He's the HawgSports basketball insider and provides a lot of other great coverage for us. Walker Brothers brings you the finest men's clothing from around the world, carefully selected to last, fit right, and help you look your best. From game day essentials to distinguished luxury wear, from a meticulously fitted suit to the perfectly faded pair of jeans, every piece in their collection is hand-selected for enduring quality and iconic style. Experience that undeniable confidence that comes with perfecting your personal style and visit them at 577 Millsap Road, Suite number 6 in Fayetteville, or at their brand new location, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101 in Rogers. An outstanding location, an outstanding store if you haven't checked out their new place over in Rogers. Okay, let's go to Kevin Bohannon now. Kevo, how's it going, brother?
It's going good, my man. Going good. Got a little cold snap, but yeah, back to baseball weather here on Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
Northern Colorado coming in to finish up an 18 game homestand. Yes, that's it.
Yep. Well, you got Tuesday, March 17th. And that's SEC Network Plus. Both these are SEC Network Plus. Tuesday, March 17th at 6 o'clock, and then Wednesday, March 18th at 3 o'clock against Northern Colorado. What did you see out of them this weekend against Mississippi State, winning that series 2-1?
Yeah, the biggest thing was they showed a little bit of grit, and Coach Van Horn challenged this team after losing 2 straight to Stetson. The consistency wasn't there in the non-conference play. They lost 5 games for the first time in non-con play since 2020. They went 11-5 in that little 16-game span before the season was shut down. So they had a little bit to prove. And Mississippi State comes in, top line starter on Friday, Ryan McPherson. Their Saturday and Sunday guys were really good as well. That lineup's one of the best in the country. They came in hitting .354. After they left Fayetteville, they dropped .338. So they dropped 16 points, for their batting average as a team. And Arkansas's, pitching staff, that now they're allowing 2 hitters to hit .207 against them. So they showed that they're going to have to win a lot of games close, and they're going to have to rely on pitching, especially out of that really deep bullpen in a lot of games like this. They're not just going to be able to outslug teams this year. So you got a glimpse of what's to come in the future.
Yeah, do you think DVH is going to have to manage games more this year, just with the shifting lineups?
Yeah, baseball is a game to where the certain situations will predict what you do. In terms of righty-lefty matchups, when there's a bunt, when there's a hit and run, when there's a good situation to steal a bag, swipe a bag, double steal. All of those situations present themselves in a game, and you make the decisions. Yes, no. It's just like pulling the lever. Dave Van Horn pulled a lot of levers this weekend. He went back. He only used Parker Cole for 2/3 of an inning, on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night in that rubber match. He let Ethan McIlvain go the last 2 innings and left Mark Brissy in the bullpen. So he had another, bullet in the holster. But what he did with the lineup and putting Cam Kozel at shortstop, starting Reese Robinette at third base and Carter Rutenbar at first base, and then TJ Pompey comes in on Friday night, hits the walk-off home run, and that just shows you that, look, right time, right place. Did Van Horn know that Pompey was going to do that? Absolutely not, but Pompey had something to prove. He's made adjustments. He led the conference in strikeouts going into that series this weekend, and he had an opportunity to make a difference on Friday night. And I said, look, with a doubleheader coming, the winner of that Friday night game is going to win this series because it's tough to sweep a doubleheader in the SEC. I don't care who it is. Arkansas got the win, ended up taking the series.
Yeah, how good was the bullpen in that rubber match and overall?
Yeah, just when you look at what Ethan McIlvain, Parker Coyle, Steele Eves. Here's Eves and McIlvain. They've thrown 23 1/3 innings. They've allowed 9 hits. They're both 3-0 and have 0 ERAs. So between those guys, you got a righty and a lefty that can shut down any team and shut down a Mississippi State team. Eves did it, in his game early on Saturday, and then McIlvain closed it out Saturday night. So, you got those guys that can go multiple innings. You got Parker Coyle, who's a matchup nightmare. They need another righty to come on. Tate McGuire showed that in the loss. He came in and kept it close enough. Hunter Dietz gave up 5 runs. Look, Dietz only gave up 2, or McGuire only gave up 2 the rest of the way. So, they've got the depth right there. And then the starting pitching, a lot of people think Gabe Gackle doesn't deserve a Friday night role. Yeah, he's been good, but people are scared. But it's weird because Friday night roles are reserved for your best guy on the team. Well, he showed that, look, he had the best stuff out of all 3 this weekend. He kept that lineup to 2 runs, and then Cole Gibbler came in and did his part. So, overall pitching staff had a great performance this weekend. A-. There's, of course, they missed some pitches, but they kept the walks down. I think they only walked 4 or 5 guys the whole weekend. And when you can get ground outs, get fly outs, it's a really good thing. You don't have to strike everybody out. Be more democratic.
What do you see out of South Carolina?
They're a lower tier team in the SEC, but when you're playing on the road, anything can happen.
Not common for South Carolina.
Yeah, it is. We think back to the 2009 through 2012 range. They were one of the top teams in the country at the time, and they just kind of really fallen on hard times. Paul Maneri hasn't been able to rekindle some magic that he had at LSU by going to be a Gamecock. So I think Arkansas could take the series on the road. They gotta play error-free baseball. That's the biggest thing. Real reason why they came out ahead this past weekend. They played clean baseball, and you play clean baseball on the road, you got a good chance to take 2 out of 3.
All right, K-Bo. Appreciate you, brother. Anything else to add before we cut you loose?
No, we're good. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, everybody. That's Kevin Bohannon. Follow him at K-Bo Baseball Guru on X and read all of his content at HawgSports, HawgSports.com. Does a lot more than just baseball. Also helps us a lot with football and has a lot of great knowledge when it comes to that sport as well. Blakeman's is proud to be the official jeweler of the Arkansas Razorbacks. While I would encourage you to visit them in person because it's an outrageous. I mean, their new store is unlike anything in the region. I think it's the finest jewelry store in the region. There's just nothing like it around here. But I would encourage you to check them out at their new location at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway, Rogers, Arkansas 72758. But did you also know that you can shop them online at blakemansfinejewelry.com, and they have delivery? So you can shop them online. You can also book an appointment online as well. Built on tradition since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. Again, check them out, 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway, Rogers, Arkansas, 72758. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, where Arkansas gets engaged. Is it football time? Football time. Let's start with Pro Day. Most of the guys that have a chance to get drafted were at the NFL Combine. Obviously, some generally unimpressive numbers overall. Omega Blake only ran a 4.65 in the 40. I'm just going to go over a couple of these 40 numbers just because that's what most people know about, I guess. Stephen Dix with a 4.7. Taylor Green didn't run again. Rohan Jones with a 4.75. I thought Rohan might run a quicker one. Rohan probably carries his pads pretty good. 25 bench reps for Rohan Jones. Philip Lee with a 4.89. Frank Mulipola with a 5.19. That is not fast. Julian Neal did not run. Julian ran, a 4.50 or something at the Combine. Ashton No ran a 4.72, deep snapper. Corey Robinson with a 5.37. Raylan Sharp with a 4.55. Again, 4.55 is not very fast for a guy Sharp's size. He had a 37-inch vertical, though. He was quick on the field. 4.28 L drill. 4.28 shuttle, excuse me. Shakira Smalls with a 4.50. Xavier Sori ran again. He did a 4.62, a little bit better time. Kenai Walker ran a 4.57 as a defensive back. Not exceedingly fast. Trent Whalen ran a 4.83. Caleb Wooden with a 4.69. Maybe this is uncovering some stuff. Larry Worth with a 4.66. Larry Worth only had a 37.5 vertical. I say only, that's a really good vertical, but like he was doing over 40 inches the last 2 years. I wonder why that went down. Jordan Young ran a 4.78. Some unimpressive times. Arkansas Pro Day was on, what day was that? Friday. It's on Friday. So these numbers didn't come out until Sunday. Okay, do we want to talk Ryan Silverfield real quick? I mean, guys, most of what he said was, you know, some of the decisions on like who came out first here and there was based on, you know, guys that have been there and done that, you know, what kind of off season they had, stuff like that. They're trying to get outside tomorrow for practice. Practices are at 4:15. This week it's been Sunday. It'll be Tuesday. It'll be Thursday with press conferences Monday, Wednesday. We talked to Morgan Turner and David Johnson, the running backs coach, the tight ends coach and running backs coach, and selected players also. But yeah, they hope to get outside. It got down to it was like 22 degrees today. So it got cold. The third day, they'll be able to strap on some shoulder pads. I'm trying to think of anything he said that just really jumped out. He did mention about Antonio Jordan getting just minor injured. I don't think it's anything serious. Okay, so let's get into some of my notes, my observations. Okay. I've got a full order of appearance. We could call it a depth chart. It's in depth chart format, but it is an order of appearance. And the way I put this together, we got about an hour of practice. It's a 2-hour practice. We got to watch about an hour of it. The way I put this together is the defense is lining up in team. They're going against the air. They're just running some stuff real quick. And, you know, it's based on the first group that came out, second group, third group. Same thing with the offense, first, second, third. KJ Jackson took the first snap at quarterback, which basically comes off of a coin flip. Here, I'll do this. I'm going to go into some detail about what I observed. And but first, here's a clip from Ryan Silverfield about the first day. This is a minute.
It is about the name on the back of the.
That is not Ryan Silverfield.
Day one in the books, a lot to learn from, a lot of great things, and then a lot of things that we're going to sit there back and say we can improve upon. But the right mindset and right approach by the guys out there, I thought they attacked the field and the work with enthusiasm, with passion and understanding what we want this thing to look like. Details got to get cleaned up, obviously a day one installation, but then the biggest jump has to be from day one to day two and how we go about our business, and then obviously day two to day three later on this week when we put on the pads. But, you know, pleased with it and excited to watch the film with the guys this afternoon and continue to make progress. And then you get to see some of these guys, you know, a CC who was hurt all last year step up and do some good things, you know, competitive. Bradley Shaw, who was a starter last year that I challenged and told him he's got to play better and, you know, had a good day one. So, but I think what you're seeing is we got depth at certain positions. Now, how high that ceiling is and how low that floor is to be determined. We got a lot of time to determine that, but I think we got some depth and I like the way they attack the work.
All right, that's Ryan Silverfield. That was from today's 12:15 press conference that was following the first practice, which was on Sunday in the Willard and Pat Walker Pavilion. Superlative type stuff. One thing I noticed was Arkansas had the Razorback logo on the Guardians. Some people call them a bonnet, but it's like the Guardian helmet padding thing, which everybody wears now except for punters, kickers, and quarterbacks. But that slowly more and more got integrated into practice, is wearing those Guardian deals. But I don't know. I thought that was a good look. They had a Razorback on the side of the logo. They have not had that. Heck, it used to be way back in practice. They didn't have any logo on their jersey, even on their helmet. But I thought that was a good look. I know that's nothing major, but I I felt a little bit at the start of practice, like, where do I go? What do I do? Where do I want to see? Because I want to see everybody. There's 57 new scholarship players out there. 42 of them are transfers. It's like you want to see everybody. You want to see the guys that are coming back. 26 guys coming back. I want to go look at Braylon Russell. I heard he lost some weight. Ryan Silverfield talked about that today, and he has. You can tell his stomach is flatter. He's somewhere around 230. He's listed at 238 last year. I think that was probably not 100% accurate, at least by the end of the year. But he has dropped some weight. Sounds like they may try to take 5 more, get him down to about 225. When they started stretch, they start with a little all-in chant. It's like all in, and then it's off to the stretch. That's kind of the tempo that they say it with, which we know has been Silverfield's team motto. After they went to stretch, they went right into special teams, and they call special teams special forces. They got a name for everything like that, but they call special teams special forces. Just a couple other things. They call their linebackers, their inside guys, the Mike and the Sam, not the Mike and the Will. They actually called the Will the nickel in the past, but they call the Will the star. So the nickel is the star. The inside linebackers are the Mike and the Sam. The hybrid guy, edge rusher type, is the Jack, as we know. They also do, with wide receivers, they do X, Y, A, F, and Z, for the different wide receiver positions. Sometimes coaches in the past have used numbers. Sometimes they have a little bit different lettering system and stuff, but that's how they do it. The X is like the split end type. The A is like the slide. I think the Y and the F are both tight ends, and the Z is like the flanker type, 6'1" type of guy. So just a few terminology things. I think those are important to help us identify. Every coach has their own, kind of little system. The sizes seem a little bit off. I don't see how KJ Jackson can be 6'4" if AJ Hill is 6'4". If KJ Jackson is 6'4", then AJ Hill is 6'6". And if AJ Hill is 6'4", then Braden Fuller is 6'1". He's listed at 6'3". The biggest guy out there looked like Anthony Kennedy Jr. He looked like the biggest defensive lineman, biggest defensive guy, I should say. He's 6'3", 335, but Danny Bill's 6'5", 330. But to me, Kennedy looked bigger. One of the things that jumped out very early was they got a lot of the right body types on the defensive line. A lot of, 6'3", 6'4", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 295, 305, 310, those types of guys. As Silverfield was mentioning, they don't have like a veteran guy, like a 330 nose, type of guy. They've got some younger guys that are that size, but, they don't have like a veteran that size. But, I'm looking at Zadavian Sims, who I thought maybe was like proportionally the best looking guy out there. But, Hunter Osborne, very similar in size. Trajan Odom, maybe a little bit smaller. Maybe it's the 28 that he's wearing, but he's maybe a little bit trimmer. And then you've got Carlin Jones, kind of similar. All those guys are kind of similar size. You have Reginald Vaughn, who's back from last year. Caleb Bell is a little bit, leaner than some of the other guys, but still, got some good size. But to me, what stood out was the sheer volume of guys that had the right body type versus what they had last year. They were lacking in that defensive tackle body, they just were. So I've got a depth chart where you can see like who kind of lined up where and stuff. Kamori House was one of their biggest additions out of the transfer portal from North Carolina. He played linebacker there, but some of the talk is like he's never going to be like a 230-pound guy. And what I didn't really realize is they pretty much brought him here to play nickel. At 6 foot, 215 or so. They pretty much brought him here to play nickel. Now, he can play linebacker. He could move back into safety, they think. The same thing with Christian Harrison, who goes, 210 or so. Christian Harrison, nickel, safety. To me, like, I think if House is their nickel, I would like to see Christian Harris, and if they feel like maybe Scott, the guy who went to Auburn and then went to Georgia State and now is at Arkansas, Scott's also playing nickel. If they could get like House and Scott going at that nickel spot and move Christian Harrison to more of a starting safety, that would make me feel a lot better about safety, because safety is the one area where I'm just like, and they may suck on defense. Who knows? They may not have the right attitude. Whole thing may be a disaster. We don't really know just yet. But from a personnel standpoint, I like the way the defensive line looks right now. Can they play? I don't know. I like the looks of them. The linebacker core, I think, has potential. I think, you've got Bradley Shaw, who apparently had a really good offseason. I think probably a little bit disappointed in the way he played last season. You got Wyatt Simmons, Phoenix Jackson, some other guys, some other candidates there at linebacker. I could actually bring up the depth chart maybe so I don't miss. I put this, just a depth chart together. But if they feel good about that and they can put Kamori House at nickel, it would make me feel better if Christian Harrison could play more safety. I also like that you don't have to worry about hurting anybody. Jaquavian Smith was actually running with the first group, one of the transfers. You also got Ben Bogle, Preston Davis, Phoenix Jackson. You got some options there maybe. But you don't have to worry about hurting people's feelings and them transferring. And we saw that a lot with Pittman. The fear that somebody, was not going to play and was going to transfer. Like, there were guys that we saw in the spring that had no business running with the first, second group, and you got to fall camp when they couldn't transfer and they were just completely out of the picture, The starters were Carter Stoutmire, the Colorado transfer, and Miguel Mitchell. Those are the guys that started. But yeah, I would love to see if they could get Christian Harrison, move him to safety, and then have Kamori House at nickel and Tyler Scott, also there. Tyler Scott was a very highly regarded prospect also. Lakai Rowland, the Maryland transfer, and Jaheim Johnson, the Tulane transfer, were the starting corners. They also had Shelton Lewis, who's Clemson, I believe, and then Braden Lee, who's also from Maryland. Those were the guys in the backup spots. On the defensive line, you had Quincy Rose, of course. I think Trajan Odom was the end behind him. I mean, so it's a different kind of end, really, than it's been. Hunter Osborne started. Carlin Jones was behind him. The other defensive tackle was David Oakey, starting with Zadavian Sims behind him. All right, on the offensive line, I kind of thought like Bryant Williams, they've got him at right tackle. Maybe they're anticipating that KJ Jackson is going to be the starting quarterback because you want your best pass protector protecting your quarterback's blind side. KJ Jackson's a lefty, so it makes sense to do that. But Ryan Silverfield was kind of indicating that, like, they feel like they've got two guys that can really pass protect. They got Kavian, not two guys, but I mean, there's going to be a competition still, but you got Kavian Broussard at the left tackle spot. Malachi Bringland, who I thought looked very quick at left guard. Caden Kittler's back. They had Davion Weatherspoon, the Ohio transfer, working at center. Weatherspoon is 6 foot tall. He is maybe the shortest scholarship offensive lineman I've seen at Arkansas since I've been covering them. Now, there is a guy in the NFL who's like 5'11", who plays for, I think, Philadelphia. I mean, it happens. It's rare. I mean, he was an all-MAC performer. I'm sure he's really good technique-wise. I'm sure he really understands leverage. I just wonder if he gets overwhelmed. But the further you can put him inside, and in this case center, he played guard last year. On this level, I think helps him versus, playing on the edge or something like that. Like, that would be impossible. Kobe Branham returns at right guard, and as I mentioned, Bryant Williams at right tackle. So that was your starting group there. I mean, I say starting group. That was the first group that came out. Chris Marshall came out first at wide receiver. Donovan Faupel, who I really like the looks of Donovan Faupel. Ismail Cece came out first at wide receiver. Sutton Smith was the first running back to take the field. And as I mentioned, KJ Jackson at quarterback. KJ Jackson was the most consistent, steady guy. Let me put some video up. How about that? Let me know if you can't hear me still. I think you can still hear me. But KJ Jackson, to me, threw the ball the cleanest, the most consistent, tight spiral. And if you see here with AJ Hill, you see that little bit of a dip that he does with his throwing. Watch him here. He's in the back. You'll see him dip the ball a little bit. He's got a little bit of a loop in his throwing motion. Well, he's not throwing it yet, but watch it dip down. See that dip? That's wasted motion. That's more of a baseball type of throw. I don't know if they'll try it. You see how KJ threw that and the ball never dipped down. So there's two errors that you generally see with the quarterback. You see how KJ didn't dip down. You see a hitch and a loop. A hitch is kind of where you bring it up and almost shot put the ball. A loop is where you kind of throw that baseball motion, and with the football, it's just regarded as wasted motion. He's kind of a long limb guy, but you don't want that big windup. So probably something that they'll have to work on with him just a little bit. But I did think consistent, and he's got a big arm. You see it there. Watch the ball dip. Oh, every time I say it, he takes off and runs. But yeah. So, but he's got a really strong arm. I mean, he can really sling it. But KJ, to me, threw the ball the most consistent, crisp spiral out of all the quarterbacks that were there. Let's see. Where do I have my notes? I know I've got some more notes. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I mentioned the sizes. I feel like Josiah Clemens. I wanted to talk about him. Josiah Clemens is the transfer offensive lineman. He was once committed to an SEC school. I feel like it was Mississippi State, but he was 6'7", 370 pounds last year. 6'7", 370. He's down to 326. So he has lost 44 pounds. He was committed to, Mississippi State. He's a good-looking young player. Like, he was lined up over there at left tackle. I like the looks of him. I like the looks of Terrence Robertson, too. I thought Terrence Robertson shows a lot of quickness over there. So some good candidates behind the I think the group that they put out there is likely to be the starting group when all is said and done. But I like some of the other guys that I saw. So much of this team, to me, depends on, as you see Braylon Russell there, you can tell he looks a little bit trimmer. So much of this team depends on quarterback play. And just overall, you've got 25 weeks to get, 90 young men, 89 young men, plus Monte Harrison, who's 31, on the same page to get them to be a team, to get them to start believing in each other. And, yeah, it can happen. Like John Calipari, I know there's 10 times the players on your football roster as your basketball roster, but John Calipari has a very tight-knit group with this basketball team, and they've just been together for months, so they haven't even been together a full year. So you can do it. You got 25 weeks to get these guys all on the same page, getting each other's back, playing for Arkansas and their name on the back, as John Calipari says. So TJ Hodges looked pretty quick, 4-star running back recruit. He could add a little bit of weight. He's a little light in the seat, but he could add a little bit. So, yeah, those are some of my primary thoughts. Let's hop over and see if we got any questions. But I would like to tell you real quick about – I got to interrupt this. I got to tell you about our friends over at Bet Saracen. Bet Saracen is Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Okay, so once you step outside the state, you can't even use it. One time I was trying to place a bet in Memphis, and it was like you had to be inside the state. So it's for Arkansans, and they got several different prop bets and all kinds of fun games. You can do in-game betting and all that kind of stuff, but it is the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. And right now, if you use the promo code BIDDY250, capital B, lowercase IDDY 250, and when you sign up, you put $25 down on your first bet, you can get $250 back in bonuses to bet on Bet Saracen. Pretty sweet deal. Go check them out. Use the promo code. There's a link below you can click. Bet Saracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app.
Arkansas's Fab Five for Bet Saracen.
Yo, Sid, what spread you checking out, man?
I'm checking out the Hogs on Bet Saracen.
You know, Rainwater's exclusive specials and tons of Bet Saracen options make it Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
And they take more action on the Hogs than any other sports book in the world.
Guys, I am confident it's because we do their TV ads.
I agree with that.
Amen.
Bet Saracen.
Okay. Let's get to some questions now. People are talking about beavers. Why are you talking about beavers? I know a dude that almost died digging out beaver dam, got a bite on the leg underwater. That would hurt. Why are you guys talking about beavers? We got 104 comments on here. Some of them about beavers. Are you a wholesaler for fish? What are you guys talking about? All right. We're going to have to go to HawgSports. Go straight over to questions here. The show's a little bit later today, so we're going to wrap it up here in just a moment. Get to your questions. If there's any interesting ones, if it's not about beavers. Okay. Joshua 11 says, Trey Dog, when can we start having discussion about Acuff being in the same category as McFadden and Corliss Williamson as one of the all-time great Razorbacks? I mean, are we not having that conversation? I feel like we're having that conversation. I mean, what he has done, the ability to take over games, having a marquee game, and it's disappointing that they lost to Alabama. We'll be talking about that game for a long time. But hell, I mean, they ended up the game with 3 players. But we're talking about him in that category. I just mentioned a minute ago, I'd always held Joe Johnson in this certain regard. But Joe, as good as Joe Johnson was and as great of an NBA career as he had, they never got out of the first round of the NCAA tournament. I mean, once he does that, once he moves out of hell, he's won Player of the Year. Joe never won Player of the Year. He won Freshman of the Year. To me, he surpassed Joe Johnson in terms of that, the way we think about who is the most talented guy to ever come through in my lifetime. I mean, Sidney Moncrief was in diapers when he was playing. Sidney Moncrief was in diapers. Scratch that, reverse it. I was in diapers when Sidney Moncrief was playing. It's been a long day. So, yes, we are talking about him. We have to talk about him. I mean, he's going to end up likely being the all-time points leader in basketball for a season in history. Now, will he have the career that Corliss Williamson had? No. I mean, Corliss Williamson went to Sweet 16, won the national championship, finished runner-up the next year. I mean, he's got All-American, which Acuff will have, and has had. Sporting News already named him an All-American. SEC Player of the Year twice. I mean, Corliss has a pretty impressive resume, but Corliss will always be that. There will never be another guy that puts a resume together like Corliss Williamson, because anybody that's that good is gone after their freshman season. Maybe not in Corliss's case. He was banged up. He only averaged 13 points a game his freshman year, and he had that, I think it was a foot or something. And Scotty Thurman was actually the, kind of the top dog that freshman year. Joshua 11 says, Trey, one more. What was Silverfield like at practice, and who are some other coaches that stood out? David Johnson stood out to me just because he's loud. Barker, Tim Chaney, Cramsey. Man, there's a lot of names to remember. I'm going back old school. Cramsey stood out to me just because Cramsey sounds like he almost sounds like he's from Louisiana, but he's from, where is he from? Pennsylvania? He's kind of got that talk. He kind of talks like this a little bit. He talks to everybody like this, but he also gets them up real big. Like he's getting them up. There was this guy one time I met from Louisiana. I'm in the elevator. This was a bowl game. This is a football game. I guess they were playing LSU. But this guy was an Arkansas fan, but he was Louisiana. He was a Louisiana guy. And I'm in the elevator. He's like, they can't keep doing this to me. They can't keep doing this to me. Like, these hogs are killing me. And he says, he's like, so what do? You know, and I was like, I'm in the media. And he goes, you're in the media. He goes, he mentioned somebody who plays for baseball for Texas A&M. You know, so-and-so, he plays, whatever for Texas A&M. And I'm like, no. He's like, you never heard of him? And I go, no, I never heard of him. He goes, what do you mean you never heard of him? And like, the elevator doors are closing and I'm getting off of the elevator, walking to my room, and he's talking to me like we're going to see each other again. And he goes, what do you mean you never heard of him? Son of a bitch hit 380 last year. That's the conversation. But to me, the dude sounds like he's from Pennsylvania. You know, like Louisiana and Pennsylvania, something about it sounds the same to me. And that's kind of how Cramsey sounds. He kind of talks like this. This kind of sounds Louisiana. But I think he's from Pennsylvania. Hell, let me see. Does he have where is Cramsey from? Yes, Pennsylvania, Allentown. But he's kind of talking to everybody like that. Everybody, he's like, screaming in the air and stuff. Like, he gets excited. State of the baseball program. Some early disappointing losses, but big series win to kick off SEC play. This is from the Boar Room. I think we pretty much covered baseball. You actually posted this before we had Bohannon, so I think he covered that for you. And if you could get 2 in, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how the receiver group looks and what you saw from them. So wide receiver core, there's a lot of options. That is a good thing. So the guys that came out first on Saturday, I mentioned Ismail Cece, Donovan Faupel, Chris Marshall. Chris Marshall is explosivo. He took a tunnel screen. They're just running a drill, but what jumped out to me is like, this guy, he's 6'3", 215. He gets up to speed extremely fast. Courtney Crutchfield, I think, was in line behind him on that drill and also moves fast. He's not as big. He's 6'2", 195. But what is different about Crutchfield this spring versus last spring? Last spring, as Bobby Petrino said, he had too much adipose tissue like me. He came in out of shape last year. He just did not look the part and did not look like the guy that we saw coming out of high school who was a top 100 recruit when he signed with Missouri. And then they sent him down here kind of overweight. He looked like he should look. Antonio Jordan, I didn't really see anything that just like totally jumped out to me with Antonio aside from his size. I don't remember anything that jumped out. Donovan Faupel was a guy that like, I was like, this guy, who's 8? Who is 8? Oh, that's Donovan Faupel. Donovan Faupel is the New Mexico State transfer. Good looking wide receiver. I think he fits kind of that flanker type body. You've got your big 6'3" guy. You got your 6', 6'1" flanker type of guy. I think he fits in that role. And then they had Ismail Cece inside, Jamari Hawkins inside. Jaylen Brown. It's good to see Jaylen Brown out there. I mean, he had a pretty bad leg injury, obviously. He didn't seem like he was hampered by that at all. C.J. Brown also back out there. They've got some options at wide receiver. The question is, are one of these guys a stud? Is there a superstar? I mean, there's some guys that are rated in that superstar. Excuse me. Whew. It snuck up out of nowhere. Some guys rated in that superstar type of category. Like, Crutchfield was number 65 overall prospect in the country. Antonio Jordan, we know, is from Warren. A lot of high praise on him as a recruit, especially when he arrived. Chris Marshall, former number 25 prospect in the country. Hell, Jaylen Brown was a top 100 recruit also coming out of high school and had some flashes last year before he broke his leg. So is there like a Darius Acuff type of wide receiver? Like, is there a go-to guy, a guy that you get the ball in this guy's hands at the end of the game and he's going to get it done for you? And I don't know if there is him. I don't know if there is him. I don't know if there is he. I don't know if that guy's out there. We'll have to wait and see. You don't know. I mean, hell, I thought Darius Acuff was going to be like, I was telling people like, he's like Isaiah Thomas. I'm not saying he's Isaiah Thomas, like when he was a recruit, but he's better than I thought he was going to be, so maybe there's a guy like that out there. Dogtown Hog says, can we get someone to remix Blame It on the Boogie to Blame It on the Biddy? Yes, I've been blamed for a lot of things. There was a guy that was like blaming me for stirring up quarterback controversy. Like, even Cramsey said there's a quarterback controversy. Like, he misspoke. Like, he was saying quarterback competition, but he said controversy. But this guy was like saying I was stirring things up. Like, there's position battles everywhere. We're going to talk about the position battles. Very strange take. Dogtown Hog says, far from ideal for the coach to state there's not a go-to guy in there, to be honest. Not right now. Got to figure out who that guy is. Maybe he's out there. Somebody's going to have, 50-plus catches on this team. Just don't know who it is yet. Somebody's going to lead them in rushing. Don't know who that is yet. A lot of questions to be answered. Can't wait to see him in pads. All right. Appreciate everybody for hopping on and joining us. We had a good show today. There was so much good stuff to talk about. Baseball obviously didn't sweep, but, you win your home series. You try to steal one on the road. That's kind of the formula, right? In conference play. Basketball team, just a tremendous cap to the, I don't know if you call it the regular season because we are in the postseason, but just, the next stage, I guess, finishing out strong with the regular season the way they did, being ranked basically the entire year. Were they ranked the entire year? Did they ever go unranked? I don't know that they did, but just following Darius Acuff and, it wasn't just Darius Acuff. You had, Trevin Brazil had moments and, Malik Ewan had moments, Malik Thomas, it's been a really fun basketball team, really fun team to watch. And it kind of goes. I kind of go back to the idea that I've had like with Calipari when he got here, and I was like, what's more likely to happen? That this man who has a Hall of Fame career tarnishes his career and has a terrible, experience at Arkansas, or does he keep doing what he's doing? And looks like he's kind of keep doing what he's doing. Now, they got some guys coming in next year. They've got 3 really good high school recruits coming in. I know we're already looking at them. Got to live in the moment. You got to think about every step. Time will go by too fast if you don't live in the moment. I get that, but I can't help but look ahead. Yes, with Smith coming in and Andrews and Tor, like those freshmen, who do you have coming back from this team? Last year it was like, we're going to go get 3-4 high school guys. We're going to bring back 3 guys. We're going to go get 3 guys from, Serbia and Bosnia and wherever else. And, we're going to bring in some, a couple of transfers. Really only brought in, Pringle and Ewan. Are those the only transfers that they brought in? Yeah. Maybe they bring in more, but if this team had, and I don't mean Pringle has done some good things, he's done some things that have been frustrating, and the same with Ewan. But if they had just a more dominant big man down low, just like a defensive stopper, this team would be so hard to stop. Every team's got their holes. Every team's got their problems. But, okay, that's the show today. Trey, Dwight, Raleigh, I say that, and here's one more. I don't know if you cover this or not, but how many players did we hold over total in football? 26 players from last year's teams, 26 scholarship players. All right. That's it. Appreciate y'all joining me. We'll be back with you guys on Thursday. There won't be a show next week because it's spring break, but we'll be back with you after that. But we got another show coming up on Thursday. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Appreciate you. We'll catch you next time.